bees. Some of us are afraid, some are allergic, and some just don't like them. But the fact is, we need them. Bees pollinate 1/3 of what we eat. They contribute over $2 billion to Canada's agriculture every year. But recently, there's been an alarming decline in honeybees. Jim Conybeare is a third-generation beekeeper of Wellington County who's struggling to keep his bees alive.
We've seen them affected throughout the summer, and I would say that it's probably about 90 to 95% of my bee operation that's been affected this year.
Ernesto Guzman is the head of the Honeybee Research Center at the University of Guelph. He says that losing bees is part of the business, but it's the rate and frequency at which this is happening that's alarming.
Normally, beekeepers in Canada would expect to lose 10 to maximum 15% of their colonies each year. But we've been losing about 30% of the colonies each year during the past 6 years.
So why are the numbers of bees dropping? Scientists say it isn't just one factor. It could be disease or bacteria. But what beekeepers are most concerned about are pesticides, particularly those containing neonicotinoid. Neonicotinoid is the most widespread insecticide used to treat crops, especially corn and soybean. It is long-lived because they grow through the plant and into the pollen. When bees ingest it, it causes nerve damage and paralyzes their legs and wings.
We do have, like I say, other issues. Varroa mite, we have intestinal parasites such as nosema. They can be a problem, but the thing is we can monitor those and we can treat for those. And up until the point where we saw neonic highly residual in our environment, a lot of these other things weren't a real problem.
To keep the bees from pollinating these sprayed crops, some beekeepers are forced to move their bees out of province.
Mid-August, I started to move bees about 150, 200 clicks north of here. A week to 10 days, I started to see their health improve. So I immediately know that there's an environmental issue happening when you've got continual dead and dying bees in front of your hives and then you move them out of the area and it's gone.
Last year, Health Canada reported that 70% of their dead bee samples tested positive for residues of neonicotinoid. This month, they announced new restrictions to protect the bees. The new rules require corn and soybean farmers to take effort to reduce dust during the planting process, but beekeepers say this isn't enough.
Our concern is that only 2% of the neonic pesticide is released in the dust during planting. PMRA's ruling or regulation only addresses the dust situation.
It's not the first time the government's delay in taking action against pesticides affects beekeepers. In the 60s, Conybeare honey lost 800 of 1,100 hives because of aldrin, a commonly used pesticide at the time. It took the government 6 years to address the problem and ban the chemical.
We see how we're sort of in a cycle that it's repeating itself again.
While beekeepers wait for stricter regulations against neonicotinoid, they're having to come up with creative ways to keep their business alive. Some are buying bees from local beekeepers, others are importing hives from out of province, and most are even relocating their bees hundreds of kilometers away from the sprayed fields. But this is expensive.
For the beekeeping industry, that's unsustainable in the long term, and many beekeepers might decide, I quit. Might say, this is not a business anymore, that's it. And if you lose beekeepers, you lose managed bees. And if you lose managed bees and bees decline, then we would have less food produced, then we would have food at a higher prices. Beekeepers need help, and they need help with research. They need help with technology transfer so that they get the tools and the knowledge as to how to control diseases and parasites. And they also need help from the government to take actions to prevent cases of poisoning by pesticides.
In April, the European Commission placed a 2-year ban on neonicotinoid pesticides. Our beekeepers are waiting for Canada to follow suit.
So remember, without bees, we don't have these. I'm Ashley Cochran, Ryerson TV News.